There comes a moment, quiet, unassuming, almost invisible, when a man or woman looks at their life and realizes this isn't it. Not the full version, not the highest version, not the life that once stirred in their chest when they were still dreaming fearlessly. That moment, that whisper of discomfort, that flicker of frustration, that ache that gnaws at your soul in the still hours of the night, that is not weakness. That is the call. The same call that rang in the ears of a young Thomas Edison when he failed 1,000 times and dared to try one more. The same call that echoed through the corridors of Andrew Carnegie's steel empire before the first brick was laid. The call that whispered to Oprah Winfrey when the world told her she wasn't good enough. That moment is the birth of destiny, if you answer it. But most never do. Most brush it off, call it wishful thinking, bury it beneath the noise of everyday obligations. They numb it with comfort, with routine, with excuses wrapped in logic. They trade fire for familiarity, power for predictability. They let the world tell them who they are, instead of deciding for themselves. But you are not most. If you're still listening, then something in you refuses to settle. Something deep inside you knows you were not born to blend in. You were born to break through, not to crawl through life seeking permission, but to rise relentlessly, to demand more from yourself, from this world, from the brief, miraculous time you've been given. So let me tell you something ancient, something powerful, something the great minds before you understood and lived by. Your reality is not fixed. Your potential is not capped. Your limits are not laws. They are beliefs, and beliefs can be rewritten. That is the first truth of transformation. The mind is the master key. Every fortune, every revolution, every world-changing innovation began not with money, not with luck, not even with talent, but with a thought. A single, obsessive, unrelenting thought. It is not the resources you lack. It is the clarity of purpose. It is not the opportunities you are missing. It is the inner alignment to see and seize them. You must rewire your mind. Not tweak it, not casually upgrade it. You must demolish the old wiring, the fear-based thinking, the learned helplessness, the invisible cages built by others' opinions, and lay down a new foundation, forged in clarity, courage, and conviction. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." That's not a motivational quote. That is a law of creation, because belief is not passive. Belief is power. Every day you are hypnotizing yourself. Every thought, every word you speak, every story you replay in your mind, it wires your brain. Most people rehearse their limitations more than their goals. They replay failure like it's a favorite song, memorize every reason they can't, and wonder why they're stuck. But belief is a muscle. It grows with repetition. It sharpens with intention. It transforms with immersion. This is not self-help. This is mental warfare. If you do not take control of your mind, the world will. It will program you to stay average, stay quiet, stay in line. It will feed you distractions, doubts, and dependencies. It will steal your hunger and sell you comfort. And before you know it, you will have lived a life safe and unspectacular. But the moment you take back control, the moment you say no more, I will decide what I believe, I will choose who I become, that is the beginning of greatness. So begin there, not with what you want, but with what you believe is possible. Clarity is power. The world tells you to hustle harder, move faster, grind longer, but speed means nothing if you're running in the wrong direction. Clarity cuts through the noise. Clarity turns energy into impact. Clarity turns wishes into plans, and plans into empires. Ask yourself, and do not lie, what do I want with every fiber of my being? Not what's safe, not what's acceptable, not what will impress others. What do you want? Even if it terrifies you, even if it seems impossible right now, that answer is your compass. That answer is your starting line, because you can't rewire your mind for average and expect to become unstoppable. You must demand more, not from the world, but from yourself. You must train your thoughts like a warrior. Sharpen your focus like a blade. Refuse the distractions that steal your purpose for crumbs of dopamine. Vision is not optional. Vision is fuel. Walt Disney was fired for lack of imagination. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a prison cell. but never let go of the vision of a free South Africa. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company and came back with a vengeance that redefined an entire industry. Do you see the pattern? Vision is not fantasy, it's prophecy, and prophecy requires discipline. The bridge between thought and reality is action, but not just any action. Purposeful, repeated, disciplined action. Discipline is the difference between those who wish and those who win. Discipline is freedom in disguise. It is the code of kings, the edge of champions, the heartbeat of legacy. You think discipline is hard? Try regret. You think sacrifice is painful? Try mediocrity. Every great life is built on the foundation of what was once hard. But the more you do the hard things, the less they break you. The more you lean into resistance, the stronger you become. Discipline turns pressure into polish. It forges clarity into character. So no, you will not feel like doing it every day. That is not a reason. That is the test. If greatness came easy, the streets would be paved with excellence. But they're not, because most never finish what they start. They flirt with success but never marry it. They dabble. They dip their toes into ambition and retreat at the first ripple of fear. But not you. You will train your mind until discipline becomes instinct, until discomfort becomes a sign you are growing, until your word becomes law to yourself. That is when the world begins to bend, not because the world changed, but because you did. And once your mind begins to shift, everything else follows. You'll see it, not all at once, but like the first light before dawn. Subtle at first, a little more focus, a little more resolve, a little less tolerance for mediocrity. And then something snaps. You don't tolerate your own excuses anymore. You don't wait for the right mood, the right moment, or the right motivation. You move, because movement is who you are now. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? Because when your mind is rewired, you stop seeking guarantees and start seeking growth. You stop fearing uncertainty and start mastering it. You don't need a perfect plan. You need to move boldly, imperfectly, relentlessly. And you stop mistaking motion for progress. Because now you move with intent. You move with vision. You move with purpose. That purpose becomes the axis your entire world rotates around. It fuels your mornings and drives your nights. It gives meaning to the mundane. Purpose is not a luxury. It is oxygen. Without it, you drift. You wander. You fall prey to distraction and delay. But with it, you become dangerous. To fear, to doubt, to every lie you were told about what you could or could not do. Purpose is not found. It is forged. Forged in the fires of commitment. Forged by doing the work, especially when no one is watching. Especially when the results aren't instant. Especially when it's easier to quit. The average mind craves immediacy. The unstoppable mind craves impact. One lives for the now. The other builds for forever. Look at the builders of history. Nikola Tesla, who saw electricity flowing in his mind before the world ever believed. Harriet Tubman, who risked everything, not once, but again and again, to pull others into freedom. They weren't lucky. They weren't chosen. They were clear. They were obsessed. And they were disciplined beyond doubt. But understand this, purpose without action is a dream. Action without discipline is chaos. Discipline without adaptability is fragility. You must be fluid, like water, soft in form, unbreakable in force. Life will not move in straight lines. The plan will fracture. The path will twist. And if you are rigid, you will snap. But if you learn to adapt, to pivot without panic, to flex without folding, nothing can stop you. Adaptability is not weakness. It is the evolution of strength. Every innovator knew this. Edison failed over and over, not because he was flawed, but because he was learning, failing forward, adjusting course. Most people experience failure and stop. The greats experience failure and refine. You must become unshakable in purpose, but flexible in strategy. Too many people fall in love with the method, the business model, the job, the routine, and forget the mission. And when life shifts, they panic. They cling to what was, instead of pivoting into what could be. But you will move like fire through a forest. You will not be held by old identities, old stories, old plans. You will grow too fast to be labeled. You will out-evolve their expectations, and they will say, "Who does he think he is?" or "She's changed." Damn right you have. Because growth is transformation, and transformation demands you leave something behind. Comfort, approval, safety. You cannot rise and cling to the ground. You cannot fly and stay hidden. The caterpillar dies so the butterfly can be born. The old you must shed for the real you to emerge. But be warned, the world will test you, not in grand dramatic ways, but in quiet moments, when no one's watching, when it would be easy to slip back into old patterns, when the voice in your head says, "Just this once," and that is the moment where average is reborn or shattered. Resilience is not built in comfort. It is forged in those moments of choice, between the easy path and the essential one, between the familiar and the future, between the whisper of fear and the roar of purpose. And you will be tested. You will lose things, people, old identities, opportunities that weren't meant for you, and in that loss you will feel the sting of detachment. But you must not mistake that for defeat, because every time you let go of what isn't aligned, you create space for what is. Gratitude will become your compass through that storm, not the soft, passive gratitude that says, "I guess this is good enough." No, the raw warrior's gratitude that sees the lesson in every loss, the strength in every setback, the gold in every grind. Because when your mind is wired for greatness, even failure becomes fuel. You learn to bless the battle. You thank the rejection. You welcome the delay, because you know it's sharpening your hunger, deepening your discipline, sculpting the version of you required to hold what you are building. Gratitude is the lens that turns pain into purpose. It breaks the trance of scarcity. It silences the noise of comparison. It roots you in the now, so you can rise into what's next. And what's next? Power, not over others, but over yourself. The real victory is self-mastery. That's the secret no one tells you. All the wealth, recognition, and success in the world mean nothing if you are still a slave to your impulses, still ruled by insecurity, still chasing approval like a child looking for praise. But when you master your mind, when you master your habits, when you master your response to failure, to doubt, to discomfort, that is when the world begins to move differently around you. Because the world does not respond to your potential. It responds to your power, and power is inner alignment. So you no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer hope, you embody. And the world mirrors who you have become. Because here is the ultimate truth. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. And if who you are is aligned, unstoppable, disciplined, visionary, relentless, then what you want becomes inevitable. Now hear this, because this is not philosophy, this is not poetry, this is the truth carved from the stone of history. Every person you admire, every titan of industry, every master of their craft, they were once exactly where you are now. Not certain, not perfect, not untouchable. They were questioning, searching, struggling. They were surrounded by doubt, weighed down by rejection, haunted by their own inner limits. But the difference, they didn't stay there. They refused to let circumstance define their ceiling. They refused to let the opinions of others become the architecture of their identity. They rewired their minds, not once, but every single day, until their thinking aligned with their destiny. This is your path now, and it will not be easy, but it will be worth it. You must rise above the noise of average, the cheap praise, the hollow success, the endless cycle of achievement without fulfillment. You must step into a higher standard, where your thoughts, words, and actions are governed not by convenience but by principle. This is the era of personal sovereignty, not entitlement, not arrogance. Sovereignty, ownership of your mind, your time, your energy, your evolution. You are not here to be managed. You are here to lead. Yourself first, the world second. And leadership begins with integrity. Integrity isn't about perfection. It's about congruence, alignment, the refusal to say one thing and do another. The refusal to betray yourself for comfort or clout. When your thoughts, your habits, your goals, and your identity all sing the same note, you become magnetic. You stop chasing. You start drawing. You stop begging. You start becoming. Because when your inner world is ordered, your outer world reflects it. That's not magic. That's law. You don't have to shout your power. Real power speaks in silence. It moves through rooms before you do. It changes conversations without raising its voice. It's the calm in the storm, the steady in the chaos, the fire beneath the surface. That power is cultivated in silence, in solitude, in the unseen hours. Those early mornings when no one else is awake, those quiet evenings when you choose study over distraction, those difficult conversations where you speak truth instead of seeking approval. That's where kings are made. That's where empires begin. That's where average ends. Because here's what they don't tell you. Average is not a condition. It's a choice. It's the sum of small surrenders. The lie you told yourself that you'd start tomorrow. The standard you dropped. Just this once. The dream you shelved because it was inconvenient. But the inverse is also true. Excellence is a choice. Legacy is a choice. Becoming unstoppable is a choice. It's the decision to rise again and again, no matter how many times you're knocked down, to sharpen your vision until it cuts through doubt like a blade, to fuel your purpose with discipline so deep that nothing, not fear, not fatigue, not failure can stop you. But you must decide, every day, every hour, in every moment, who are you becoming? Because every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you entertain, it is casting a vote for the future you or for the past you, a vote for average or for extraordinary. There is no neutral. You are either building the life you were born to live or reinforcing the cage that was built for you. And this world, this system, it will offer you many cages, comfortable cages, well-furnished cages, cages built from the opinions of others, the expectations of family, the stories of society. But you were not born to live in a cage. You were born to break them, to dismantle the invisible prison of fear and walk freely into your purpose, to look into the mirror and see not a reflection of your past, but a prophecy of your future. You are not your mistakes. You are not your circumstances. You are not your history. You are the architect of what's next. But architecture requires precision, vision, daily construction. You don't build a cathedral by accident, and you won't build your future on wishful thinking. You must show up, relentlessly, for yourself, even when the results don't show, even when the applause is silent, even when no one else believes, because the world does not need more followers. It needs more builders, more creators, more visionaries who refuse to trade purpose for popularity, who would rather be misunderstood in truth than celebrated in illusion. So let them doubt you. Let them laugh. Let them say you've changed. You were supposed to change. You were not born to stay the same. You were born to evolve, to rise, to rewrite the script you were handed. And if you're waiting for permission, stop. The revolution begins when you stop asking, stop waiting, start building. Because here's the most powerful truth of all. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where the climb begins. And everything you need, the vision, the strength, the courage, the discipline, it's already inside you. Not in some future version of you, not once you've proved yourself, now, but it must be activated. It must be claimed, not by wishing, by working. And when you work with purpose, with vision, with unwavering belief, the universe does not ignore that. It responds, it aligns, it begins to mirror your conviction. So today you must decide, will you settle for average, or will you rise into the unstoppable force you were always meant to become? Not someday, not when it's convenient, now, because the clock is ticking, not in fear but in fire, and your future self, the one who has built the empire, become the leader, broken the chains. They are watching, they are waiting, they are whispering, keep going, don't stop, I'm already here, but you must become me. So the question isn't whether you're capable, the question is whether you're committed, because capability is everywhere, talent is common, desire is universal, but commitment, true, unbreakable, all-in commitment, that's rare. It's easy to be motivated when it's sunny, when the energy is high, when the world applauds your effort, but the real transformation happens in the cold, in the silence, in the hours where nothing seems to be working and you still keep showing up. That's the crucible. That's the line that separates the dreamers from the doers, the dabblers from the warriors. Anyone can want a better life. Anyone can imagine success, but only the committed, The fully, irrationally, unapologetically committed will endure the fire long enough to forge greatness. Thomas Edison didn't become a legend because he had an idea. He became one because he refused to stop. 10,000 failures, 10,000 false starts, but his mind was already wired for victory, so the failures didn't break him, they built him. Walt Disney was rejected hundreds of times, for loans, for partnerships, for his vision, but every no he received only sharpened the yes he carried within. That's what commitment does. It turns rejection into redirection. It turns pain into prophecy. And if you haven't felt that yet, that fire, then you haven't gone deep enough. Because once you're truly committed, your mind changes. Your language changes. You stop saying things like, I'll try, I hope, I wish. You start saying, I will, I must. It's already done. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. You are no longer negotiating with your greatness. The mind, when rewired, does not ask for guarantees. It doesn't beg for permission. It builds. It endures. It adapts. It conquers. And when it stumbles, as it inevitably will, it does not spiral into shame or quit. It recalibrates. It takes the data. It sharpens the strategy. And it rises. Because a setback to an average mind is the end. But to an unstoppable mind, it's just chapter 1. Your beliefs create your biology. Your mindset becomes your muscle. Your focus becomes your frequency. This isn't just philosophy. This is physics. You are energy. Everything you think, feel, and do emits a signal, and the world responds not to what you want, but to what you are. So you must tune your mind like an instrument. You must become deliberate in your thoughts, ruthless in your standards, obsessive in your vision. Clarity becomes your power, because a vague mind creates vague results. A foggy vision creates fractured action. But when you are clear, truly clear, the path begins to reveal itself. And yes, it will still be hard. Yes, it will still hurt. But pain with clarity is growth. Pain without clarity is suffering. So choose clarity. Define what you want. Define who you must become. Then move. Move with the fury of someone who knows the clock is ticking, and the mountain will not climb itself. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel capable. But feelings are not facts. Action is. Action is what carves belief into your bones. Action is what turns potential into power. You don't have to feel confident to begin. You have to begin to build confidence. Every morning you rise early. Every cold shower you take. Every workout you don't skip. Every book you choose over distraction. Those are not tasks. Those are declarations. Declarations of war against the version of you that settled. Because that version is still inside you, whispering, lurking, waiting for you to get tired, to get soft, to forget why you started. But you won't forget. Not this time. Because now you know becoming unstoppable is not a one-time event. It is a daily, deliberate, defiant act of creation. You must build the habits that reinforce your vision. Small, repeatable disciplines. Not the glamorous stuff, the consistent stuff. Wake up early. Guard your energy. Train your body. Feed your mind. Cut the noise. Move with purpose. Speak truth, especially to yourself. And when the world throws chaos your way, because it will, you respond, not react. You hold your ground. You adapt, not abandon. You lean in, not retreat. This is what separates the great from the forgotten. Not talent, not luck, not genetics. Grit, vision, discipline, faith, and above all, a refusal to quit. Because there will be moments when quitting will seem easier than continuing, when compromise will seem safer than courage, when your old life will call you back like a siren song, offering ease and comfort and the illusion of peace. But you weren't built for easy. You were built for elevation, and peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of purpose, purpose that runs so deep it silences the storm. So let the storm come. You will not break. You will not fold. You will not forget who you are becoming, because you've seen the edge now. You've tasted what it means to live with vision, to walk in alignment, to act with intensity, and there's no going back. Comfort will never satisfy you again. You are becoming someone new, someone who doesn't just survive, but shapes, who doesn't wait, but builds, who doesn't conform, but leads. You are not one of them anymore. You are not average. You are rising. The ground beneath you is shifting, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Your thoughts no longer fit into the small spaces they once occupied. Your spirit is outgrowing the limitations that once felt like law. You can feel it in your breath, in your bones, in the stillness of early morning, that something inside you has awakened. This is the birth of intention. You are no longer drifting. You are steering. You are no longer reacting. You are designing. And what you're designing is not just a life, it's a legacy. But legacies aren't built in public. They're born in the shadows, in the grind, in the repetition, in the brutal, beautiful monotony of becoming. This is what they never show you in highlight reels. The hours spent sharpening the sword no one sees, the sacrifices that make no sense to the outside world, the lonely roads paved in discipline, not applause. Yet these are the roads that lead to mastery, because mastery is not a destination, it is a lifestyle. It's not a moment of brilliance, it's the relentless pursuit of improvement, the refusal to plateau, the hunger to stretch beyond what is comfortable and into what is possible. And in that stretching you break, not in weakness, in rebirth. Like steel in the forge, the pressure doesn't destroy you, it forges your edge, your identity, your stamina, your essence. This is where average runs, but this is where you dig in, and you begin to see pain differently, not as punishment, but as currency, because everything you want, the clarity, the confidence, the respect, the impact, it all comes at a cost. The currency, discomfort, delay, detachment from mediocrity. You must learn to invest pain wisely. Most people waste it. They numb it, avoid it, blame others for it. But you transmute it. You turn it into power, into perspective, into fuel for the fire you now carry in your chest. The greats, they all did the same. Abraham Lincoln knew loneliness deeper than most will ever experience, but in that isolation, he cultivated character. He suffered silently and led boldly. Henry Ford was laughed at, ridiculed, bankrupted, but he kept building, not because it was profitable, but because the vision demanded it. They weren't just men, they were machines of perseverance. And now it's your turn to channel that same relentless energy, to step beyond the old blueprint, to become the architect of a new era, one built not on circumstance, but choice, because everything changes when you understand this truth. Your reality is not fixed, it is programmable. Your mind is not a mirror, it's a canvas, and the brush is in your hand, every day, with every decision, every belief, every moment of presence or distraction, every second you give to growth or to decay. You don't need more time, you need more truth, because the time is passing, whether you act or not. The question is, will you be proud of how you used it? Will you look back on this moment as the beginning, the spark that started it all, or as just another page in the story of hesitation? You get to decide. You are not a prisoner to your past. You are not defined by the failures of yesterday, or the doubts of others, or the environment you were born into. You are defined by what you choose to become, right now, not after you've healed, not after you've learned more, not after you feel ready, now. Because readiness is a myth. No one is ever ready to rise. They choose to rise, and in that choice they become ready. So choose. Choose to leave behind the lies that kept you small, the lie that says you're too late, the lie that says you're too flawed, the lie that says your dream is unrealistic. Greatness has never been realistic. If it were, everyone would have it, but it belongs only to those who dare to defy logic with relentless action. You want to be unstoppable? Then move like it, wake up like it, speak like it, walk like it, work like it. Let every moment be a reflection of the standard you refuse to compromise, and let that standard be unshakable, not because you're always motivated, but because you're always anchored. Anchored in vision, anchored in purpose, anchored in the unbreakable decision that no matter what, you will keep going. This is how legacies are built, not in flashes of glory, but in the daily refusal to give in the small wins that add up, in the quiet decisions that no one applauds, in the inner wars that you win long before anyone notices. You don't become unstoppable overnight. You become unstoppable, one unseen battle at a time, and soon the world will notice. Soon they'll ask how you did it. Soon they'll call it luck, or talent, or fate, but you'll know the truth. You rewired your mind. You broke the cycle. You burned the old script. You looked your limitations in the eye and said, "Not today, not ever again." And with that conviction, you changed your trajectory forever. Because what you're building now, brick by brick, moment by moment, is more than just success. It's identity reborn. It's the version of you that can no longer be shaken by noise nor slowed by shadows. It's the version of you that walks with a storm inside and a silence on the outside. You don't need to tell the world you're different. You will show them. Every word you speak will carry gravity. Every move you make will echo intention. Every day you wake up, the ground will remember your name, not because you asked for recognition, but because you earned it in blood and fire and repetition. This is the identity of the unstoppable. They don't complain. They don't compare. They don't collapse at the first sign of resistance. They adapt. They evolve. They conquer. And most importantly, they endure. Because when the dream is heavy and the road is long, and your hands are blistered from building a future no one else can see, that's when the average fall off. That's when the world tries to pull you back. That's when the whispers creep in. Just take a break. Just settle a little. You've done enough. But there is no enough when destiny calls. Not for you, because your hunger is different. This isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. This isn't about being better than others. It's about becoming better than who you were yesterday. It's not competition. It's evolution. And evolution is painful. It requires the death of comfort, the rejection of your former self, the burial of every excuse that once kept you small. But with every death there is new birth, a sharper mind, a clearer mission, a deeper purpose. You begin to think in decades, not days. You begin to value solitude over popularity. You begin to measure success by how aligned you feel, not how loud the applause gets. Because deep down, you know the most dangerous human alive is the one who is fully aligned. Heart, mind, soul, and action all locked on a single burning vision. That's the kind of person who doesn't just survive the storm. They become it. That's who you're becoming. You're not reacting anymore. You're designing. You're not floating anymore. You're forging. You're no longer asking, "What should I do?" You're asking, "Who must I become?" And that question will change everything, because doing is temporary. Becoming is eternal. You can lose an opportunity. You can lose a job. You can lose a reputation. But you can never lose who you've become through discipline, through resilience, through relentless effort. That's why the work matters. That's why the pain matters. That's why the routine matters. Because every repetition is not just shaping your skills, it's shaping your soul. And once your soul is forged in fire, there's no going back to average. There's no joy in mediocrity once you've tasted momentum. You start to speak differently, move differently, decide differently, because you're no longer addicted to dopamine. You're addicted to dominion, dominion over your time, over your thoughts, over your emotions, over your legacy. And legacy, understand this, isn't what you leave when you die. It's what you live every day. It's how you show up in the dark. It's how you treat people who can't do anything for you. It's the depth of your courage when no one is watching. You are writing it now, line by line, action by action. And here's the truth. Most will forget the words you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, about themselves, about their dreams, about what's possible. So don't just become successful. Become an awakening. Be the reminder that it can be done, that no excuse is valid, that your past is not your prison, that greatness isn't reserved for the lucky. It's unlocked by the relentless. And yes, it will take time. Yes, it will take pain. Yes, it will take pain. Yes, it will take you to your knees. But that's where the real power is, on your knees. Not in surrender, but in strategy, in silence, planning the next strike, in humility, refining the next move, in gratitude, remembering how far you've come. Because if you've made it this far, through the doubt, through the delay, through the desert, then you already have what it takes. You don't need more signs. You don't need more likes. You don't need more reassurance. You need to decide, once and for all, that this version of you, the one listening now, the one with the fire in their gut and the war in their spirit, is the real you. The future is already waiting, but it only opens to the ones who step forward, with courage, with clarity, with conviction. Not tomorrow, not when it's easy. Now. Because now is the only moment you'll ever truly own. Not the past, that's a shadow. Not the future, that's a promise. But now, that's your sword, and how you wield it determines everything. You can wait, like the masses do, hoping for the right alignment of stars, or you can rise, while they sleep, and become the one who aligns themselves. That's the secret they don't teach in school. That's the truth they don't preach from podiums. That the most powerful force in this world is a human being who's decided they no longer need permission because they've already given it to themselves. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming, and becoming requires pressure. It requires tension. It requires you to stretch further than you thought you could without snapping. But you won't snap. You'll expand. Because you were never meant to stay where you started. You were meant to evolve, to grow, to transform. And every day you resist that. Every day you choose distraction over discipline, comfort over calling, noise over silence. Something inside you shrinks, but every time you rise, even just a little, something inside you awakens, a memory, a truth, a power you had forgotten, but never lost, the power to choose, not just what you do, but what you believe, what you tolerate, what you chase, what you build. That choice is sacred. That choice is the spark, because one choice can change a day. A series of choices can change a life, and a lifetime of aligned choices. That changes the world. You don't need to see the whole road, just the next step. You don't need to have it all figured out, just enough courage to move. And with every step, you'll meet resistance. You'll be mocked, doubted, misunderstood. That's the tax of transformation, but pay it gladly, because every insult is proof that you're no longer playing small. Every raised eyebrow is confirmation that you're stepping into a power they never expected from you. Let them doubt. Let them question. Let them talk. You'll be too busy building, and what you build will speak for itself, because when the results come, and they will come, they won't come slowly like a faucet dripping water. They'll come like a flood, unstoppable, undeniable, undeniable. But not because you were lucky, because you were relentless. You stayed when others left. You rose when others rolled over. You chose fire when others chose comfort. And now that fire lives in your bones. It has a name. It has a rhythm. It has a direction. It is not chaos anymore. It is clarity. Because clarity isn't just knowing where you're going. It's knowing what you must leave behind. The old habits, the worn-out excuses, the people who drain and delay and deny your growth. You cannot become unstoppable while clinging to what kept you average. So cut it loose. Yes, it will hurt, but not as much as staying stuck, not as much as dying full of potential. This is the price of elevation, the shedding of all that no longer serves the vision. And what's waiting on the other side? Freedom. Not just freedom of schedule or money, but the deepest kind of freedom. The freedom to be your fullest self, unapologetically, to move in truth, to speak without fear, to create without compromise. That kind of freedom terrifies the average, but it fuels the unstoppable, because once you've tasted it, there's no going back. You'll never fit inside the old cages again. You'll never shrink to make others comfortable. You'll never pretend to be less so they feel more. You will own your power. You will honor your journey. You will command your future. And when the storms come, as they always do, you won't panic, because you're not made of paper anymore. You're made of steel, not by accident, but by choice. Not in theory, but in discipline. Not with permission, but with unyielding purpose. And when they ask how you did it, when they look at your results, your peace, your fire, when they wonder how you became who you are, you won't need to explain. You'll just look them in the eye and say, I rewired my mind. And that rewiring, it wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was war, a war against every lie you were taught to believe, that your best years were behind you, that you should play it safe, that you should wait your turn, stay in line, keep your voice low and your dreams smaller. But something in you, ancient, primal, divine, stood up and said no more. No more waiting, no more excuses, no more shrinking to fit into boxes that were never meant for someone with wings, because wings were always yours. You were just taught to walk, but now you're learning to fly, and not because someone gave you permission, but because you remembered who you are. You remembered that power is not something you seek, it's something you reclaim. It's always been in your hands. You just had to stop using those hands to build other people's dreams and start building your own, brick by brick, step by step, hour by sacred, intentional hour. And now, you don't just chase purpose, you live it. It bleeds from your voice. It burns in your stare. It radiates from your presence. Because purpose isn't a job title or a mission statement. It's a frequency, and you're tuned to it now. You can feel when something's off. You can sense when something's right. You know deep in your spirit what aligns and what doesn't. And with that clarity comes peace. Not because life got easier, but because your spirit got louder. And when the spirit leads, the world follows. You are no longer chasing external validation, because you've tasted something deeper. Internal liberation. No more proving. No more pretending. No more performance. Just presence. Just power. Just pure, unshakable alignment with what matters most. This is what makes you unstoppable. Not perfect habits, not flawless execution, not endless motivation, but alignment. Alignment between your thoughts, your actions, and your vision. That's where true power lives. That's where momentum becomes effortless. That's where resistance becomes irrelevant. Because when you move in alignment, the universe moves with you. The right people appear. The right doors open. The right moments unfold. Not because you waited, but because you walked forward in faith. And let's be clear, faith isn't passive. It's not hoping. It's not wishing. It's working when there's no proof. It's grinding when the results haven't shown up yet. It's trusting the process even when the process hurts. Because deep down you know the truth. You were made for this, not by accident, not by coincidence. You were built for war. Your soul was forged in trials. Your younger self thought would break you, but they didn't. They built you. They taught you what schools couldn't. They carved into you the discipline, the humility, the clarity that only adversity can create. And now you're dangerous, not because you talk louder, but because you've survived enough silence to hear your own voice. That voice is your compass now, not their opinions, not the algorithm, not the applause, just the steady rising pulse of a soul on fire, a soul that refuses to settle, a soul that refuses to sleep, a soul that refuses to let comfort kill its calling. And make no mistake, comfort is the real killer. It doesn't destroy with violence. It erodes with softness. It distracts you with dopamine. It lulls you with validation. It convinces you that safety is success. But safety is the graveyard of greatness. And you weren't born to be safe. You were born to lead, to ignite, to move mountains with words, with work, with sheer will. That's why the discomfort doesn't scare you anymore. You've trained for it. You've prepared for it. You've chosen it. Because in the fire you saw what you really are. Not fragile, not forgettable, not average. You are the storm. And every day you rise, the sky remembers your name.